The conflict between JacksFilms and SSSniperwolf, two important YouTubers, made doxing a hot topic again. This is good time to show what researchers have been saying about doxing. This video is based mostly two papers about doxing and some articles in the media about the feud between the YouTubers.
The first paper was published in 2021, written by Anderson and Wood, and called Doxing, a scoping review and typology. The second paper is called Doxing, written by Eckert and Metzger Riftkin, and published in 2020.
Doxing is the practice of publishing private, proprietary, or personally identifying information about another individual on the internet. JacksFilms accused SSniperwolf of doxing after she posted a photo of his house on Instagram. Shared JacksFilms lives 5 minutes away from where she was shooting her videos, and showed a live video of JacksFilms and his wife's home.
Information about his home is private information, and that was showed publicly since SSniperwolf has more than 5 million followers on Instagram. Although the exact address of the house was not shown, pictures and videos of his house, and its approximate location based on where she was at the time, could allow the public to narrow down where exactly he lives. It seems the conflict between the two started because SSniperwolf was accused by JacksFilms of copyright infringement.
Doxing often happens with malicious intent, but not necessarily so. Women are more likely to be victims of doxing, but not necessarily so. Intersectionality is often part of doxing, with the victim being discriminated against for multiple reasons, like gender and race, but not necessarily so.
Doxing has been happening online at least since the 1990s, but it increased in the last decade, becoming a major concern for the society and marketers. YouTubers and influencers are increasingly important for marketing, but doxing has also been increasing as a threat to marketing. The term doxing comes from the hacker culture, to describe documents published on the internet with private information about someone unwilling to share that information. The word document was reduced as a slang to dox, and it created the neologism doxing.
There are 3 main forms of doxing, depending on what happens with the target who was doxed. The first is when the target loses their anonymity. The second one is when the target loses their obscurity. For example, the target was not anonymous, but loses obscurity when someone reveals their home address. The third one is when the target loses credibility, with documents trying to show they are immoral, for example. Although malicious intent is not a requirement to consider an act as doxing, doxing entails the intentional public release of personal information. So, doxing is not when someone accidentally leaks personal information about someone on the internet.
The loss experienced by the victim of doxing may take several forms. That includes losses related to extortion, silencing, retribution, controlling, and reputation, for example. The motivation behind doxing is often something that can be considered positive, even if the act is negative. The 4 main motivations for doxing are trying to show competitiveness, to get revenge, to get justice, and do a political service.
The victim can also be stalked, harassed, blackmails, receive abusive messages, and unwanted materials. Doxing also can evolve, with more people getting engaged to defend or attack the victim. One example is when doxing evolves to cyber mobbing. Since the private information becomes available online, the harmful information may remain publicly available indefinitely, as it's difficult to erase the doxing information from the internet. Although doxing is an online phenomenon, it can also evolve to the offline environment. One example is swatting, when false reports are made to the police about severe crimes happening at the address made available by the doxing. The report is fake, but the police can take the information seriously, with severe consequences for the victim.
Doxing remains a difficult problem to solve, with the police and the politicians being involved in the discussion. With important influencers like JacksFilms and SSniperwolf being involved in doxing, we also expected doxing to become an increasing concern in business and marketing. This video shows a brief review of the literature in academia about doxing, but I hope this sheds some light on the current discussions about doxing, JacksFilms and SSSniperwolf.